Less than 30 seconds now in regulation. Could this take extra time? 16 seconds. Here's Dyal. Send it up at the point, J. Lalu. Call midget now, but Matt, 6 seconds, 5, Dalfan coming out. He gets around in 2 seconds. He's got to do it quick. Judith scores, 1 second left.
Hello. We are live here with Tony and Tidge this time. Hello, Tony. Hello, Tidge. How are you two doing today?
Hello. Yeah, I'm tired, but it's fine.
Well, it is like
Completely fine.
about 3 a.m. for you or something like that, right? Right, Tidge?
Yeah.
So that's solid timing for this.
It's
And
good job all at evenings.
Tony is working on a whopping like 1.5 hours of sleep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in the last week.
Last night. Yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
The last week.
Yep.
I'm not
So
well.
hey, it's going real well. It's going real well for old Tony Flosive.
I'm gonna blame any of the really dumb stuff I say here on being extremely tired.
I mean, that's reasonable, I think. Yeah.
Usually I have to blame it on whatever magic's in the air that night.
Understood.
Whether Doc's been talking to me or Eric's been talking to me.
Well, I think you were talking to Doc for a little bit before this, so
that could do it too.
And the new NHL game came out yesterday, and you were playing that. I'm sure that took a lot out of you. So
it took a lot out of me.
Yeah.
It's the only reason I rolled out of bed today.
just that.
I saw Cap sent that picture that he bought an Xbox just to play NHL 21 with us, so I had to.
Did you guys play today?
Yeah. We did a lot better than we were doing last night without Cap.
Unsurprising.
No,
all right.
Is it weird? A team not using Cap and gets better when Cap starts playing?
It's going to happen in Colorado too. All right. So let's get into it. So for those who were not around, 8 or 9 seasons ago when we were doing this regularly mid-season, the Faceoff was sort of a weekly recap podcast where we'd go through and do a brief run through of some of the important games of the past week, how they went, were the scores surprising, upsets, playoff implications, all that sort of, whatever. And then we talk about each of the individual teams, sort of how they're trending, teams that are vying for playoff spots, how the playoff race is looking, how the first seed race is looking, trade predictions. So a lot of that's not quite relevant yet as we're a little early in the season, but we'll get into a lot of that more as we go on. And every week we'll try to bring on somebody from one of the different teams to come chat with us. And this week it happens to be Tidge, starting defenseman for New Jersey. So Tidge, good to have you here. I don't think we've ever had you on an episode of Faceoff before.
This is a debut.
And it's going to be a beautiful one. For sure.
Of course.
All right. So let's get into it. As you can see on screen, for those of you who are looking, we're going to first chat about this past week. Then, as I said, we'll get into some of the team-by-team breakdowns. We'll get into some predictions for the Week 2 games, which is always fun. We're going to keep track of our scores throughout the season between myself, Tony, and our guests to see who is the smartest in the HQM community. And then if we have time, which we might, depends on how these conversations go and how late this ends up going for old Tidge here, or if Tony falls asleep at his desk, we will chat about the Sunday Night League, Sunday Night Hockey, Sunday Night Stars, whatever you want to call it, which will be starting tomorrow night, actually. And then we'll touch briefly on a few questions that I've been getting recently about, now that we've got everything up and moving, what about recruitment? So we can touch on those if we have the opportunity to do that. So let's real quick, I'll run through the scores of this past week, and then I'll chat with you guys and see if you guys have any opinions about some of the games that may have been surprising to you, some of the games you think might have important implications down the line, stuff like that. So we started the season on Tuesday of this past week with just one game for every team for that night. The reason for that is because it's a 25 game season. Every team plays every other team 5 times, so that meant one game day. We weren't going to have doubles, so that'll be the only one if you're curious. So we opened the season with Toronto and LA, where LA was able to take a 3-1 victory behind Jalalu, coming in clutch with the big 3 points. Then New Jersey beat Boston in a pretty tight game, Tidge, so that you'll be able to tell us more about in a little bit. 5-4 victory for you guys. Then Colorado finished out the night by sweeping Seattle out of the server 6-0. Quite the uh, quite the different
Whooping.
performance compared to the rest of the night. Most of the other games were pretty competitive, so but Seattle picked it up a little bit on Friday, where we got into New Jersey and LA, where New Jersey took the 1-0 victory. Then Seattle versus Boston, where Seattle won 5-1. Colorado took a 5-4 OT win over Toronto. Then New Jersey took a 4-2 win over Seattle. Boston took a 4-1 win over Toronto, and closing out the night was Colorado with a 7-2 victory over LA. So, of all those games that I just went through of this past week, those that we played in, those that we didn't, were there any that stuck out to you guys?
Well, the smashing of my team. That was on my mind. And yeah. The weirdest one, I'd say the weirdest one to me is that 1-0 New Jersey game. That's an odd score that I wasn't
It
anticipating seeing.
Yeah, so J-Lo wasn't there for them in that game, and when we get into LA more specifically, we can chat about that a little more and talk about the implications of that. But missing Jalalo definitely hurts as their first round draft pick. Zam had stepped up to play offense for the night, and Johnny Hockey and D-Man Jerry were starting on defense together. So definitely a solid defensive performance by them still, which you'd expect with them having basically 3 defensemen on the ice. Um, but I think the bigger surprise for me was actually New Jersey only scoring 1 goal. I
Yeah.
mean, Tidge, can you speak to that a little?
Oh yeah, that game could have easily been like fucking like 6-4. Like it was insane. Like I was saying in Discord that I could have easily had like 6 points. That game PK just popped off. I think he must have saved like, I mean, yeah, I could have had probably 6 goals that game. It was just on the LA side, it was just sort of PK just popping off, and then I think on our side, I think they on LA side they just sort of just missed quite a lot of chances. I mean, if Jay Lally was there, maybe they would have took the game. I think they were just sort of missing that
Yeah, I gotcha.
You
guy
guys
that
got to
just
kind of squander a really good goalie performance just
yeah.
because you couldn't really give him any support there.
Yeah,
That probably
if
stinks
you
for them.
if you look at just the first 2 games for LA, PK let in only 2 goals in their first 2 games and only had 1 win to show for it.
Yeah, and then he let in 7 while still making more
Definitely,
saves
yes,
than
but
what he let up
definitely
in that other one.
definitely disappointing as a goalie to only give up 1 goal and still lose. So, um, but yeah, I thought that was surprising. Um, one that I don't want to say was surprising, but in like maybe in the opposite sense was like nice to see was Seattle rebounding against Boston after a 6-0 game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely happy to see them come back and put up a 5-1 performance against Boston and be able to like showcase that the 6-0 was definitely not a indication of what their team looks like. So,
We'll
but
see.
yeah, I know you have your own opinions on that, Tony. I'm not surprised to hear that at all. So, but that's okay.
That team on paper looks pretty good though. I feel like maybe give it like a few more weeks and team just comes into their element at some point.
Maybe.
Well, if we don't have any other games that we feel are really important to talk about from this past week, then maybe we can get into it by starting to talk about Seattle. Was there anything else you guys wanted to touch on there? I think I'm good for this past week. It's still early enough that a lot of these results are tough to decipher a lot of meaning from. So,
Um, just specifically on Seattle just now from the
no,
first week.
sorry, for like just in general this past
Oh, in
week.
general this week. No, not too many thoughts. Feel like um something we're not seeing. I mean, well, maybe you are like Jay Lalu missing a game here, but something concerning for us uh, going into this season 20 and bringing it back was attendance, and we haven't really seen it hurt besides the Lalu thing, I think. But like that kind of is what we're probably gonna have to expect more of as the season goes on. Is somebody like Jay Lalu missing a game and the team just not being able to win games without them there. Like
Yeah,
that's all it could take for a
yep.
lot of teams, I think.
And the big thing there too is that it's only 2 days into the season. Like we have a
Yeah,
small sample size at this point to work with.
yeah,
Like Marchie was supposed to not be there on Friday, and he ended up canceling his plans because of the weather. So he was back and able to play, and who knows how the 2 games would have gone for Colorado if Marchie wasn't there. So it makes a big difference, especially when it's a player you rely on like that. In
mhm,
Jay Lalo as an example, just to use him as the only one who's missed it so far. So
yeah.
okay, so let's shift gears and start talking about each of the individual teams. I'm gonna bring up the rosters and stats here. If I can get this going. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So yeah, let's chat about Seattle first. I think it's a good place to start. So Tony, do you want to give your thoughts on how the season's going so far? Or would you
Yeah,
rather hear us give
well,
some
I
insight first?
wouldn't take much for me to kind of say how I feel. I feel like it's going poorly, uh, to say the least. One good game aside, uh, quite poorly. Yeah, if you look at the shots for the team, it's barely over 4, and I know it's a tiny, tiny sample size, and we had one game where we only put up one shot, which skews it, but it's still not a good spread of shots for and against.
Yeah, if you factor out the mercy, which I know obviously like it doesn't work like that. You can't just say
Yeah,
this game doesn't count, right? But for the purpose of discussing sort of what that looked like or what your team looked like outside of the one mercy game, because like you said, it does skew it a lot. I think you guys were outshot 14-1 in that game. And
yeah,
when you take that out, the shots for and against for you guys drop to 12 shots for and 13 shots against, which while the shots against is actually pretty low, that's pretty good. 13 in 2 games is 6.5. League average is typically around 7.5 shots per game to 8, somewhere in there. So giving up only 6.5 per game is pretty solid, and that's definitely a big improvement from where things were in the Mercy. But like you said, only generating 6 shots per game in those two, 12 divided by 2 there is not really
mhm,
enough offense to build on. You're really relying on your defense and goaltending to keep you in games if you can't generate offense like that. So I definitely think that, at least to me, seems to be the primary point of concern for you guys up to this point.
yeah. Relying on things that are not at the moment a great strength of the team.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
because I mean, you guys are probably the most experienced
We
roster
have such an
in the
old
league.
team of
Yeah.
like genuinely old
yeah,
dudes. Like Crab's one of the younger guys, and he's 27.
Well, and not even just in terms of age, but in terms of like, HQM
Yeah,
age, in
a lot
quotes or
of, lot of
whatever.
season one dudes.
Exactly. Like you got a lot of people that have been around for a long time, like a long time. And Germs and Goose and
Yeah,
DMB and Crab and even you and BG. I mean, you guys feel like newer players, but you've still been here for almost 5 years. Like it's
yeah,
not like you're that
more than
new.
5 years.
So,
Whatever.
So, and I know that that's a somewhat similar case with a lot of other teams, but I definitely, looking at your roster, you guys I would say, have the most experienced team in the league. So, which definitely bodes well in the sense that you guys have the experience dealing with difficult situations and being forced to, get out of them and find ways out of them. And as anybody who's watched the LHL knows, that a crab team is going to find a way to do that. Crab teams always find a way to be competitive. Um, but
Even
yeah,
that
it
crappy
definitely,
season 19 one wasn't like a bowled over every game kind of team.
exactly. Yeah, they were still competitive in their games, and they did make the playoffs, right?
No,
Oh, were they
fifth seed.
fifth? Okay,
Mhm.
so you know, um, but still, a crab team always finds a way to not be a pushover, and I certainly think that's going to be the case with you guys. And it's not like you don't have the talent to do that, but yeah, the offense generation is definitely that seems to be the paramount issue to me up to this point in time. So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I do suck, Dial. Thank you for not
well,
using those
well, we
words.
are talking to the FNH September season point leader.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I was thinking about that is to point out to anybody listening who would care of why Juice is the undisputed best player in this whole game is the team of me and Crab and BG were, I think we lost one game in that whole month of games. So whatever that is, we were like how many games were played in that? We played twice a
12
day,
or something,
2 a week, yeah. For 4, so I don't know.
16, 12, 16,
Yeah, maybe
something like that.
whatever it is. I think we lost like one game, and I led the thing in scoring. But the second guy in scoring, who didn't lead it only because he missed the last day, was Juice. And it's me, BG Crab, on a team that cannot be beaten except one time. We had a fluke game, bad game. Uh, one loss, and we removed Juice from the equation and had DMB, who's like he's not even bad, honestly. But you get rid of Juice, and that team goes from best team in Friday Night Hockey, 4-team league, to one of the weaker teams in the whole league. Possibly the worst at the moment, but who knows after 3 games.
Thoughts on Seattle, Tidge?
Uh, I like him. Like I said earlier, on paper they look a fucking really good team, but I don't know what was the score when we played them. Where is it?
4-2.
Yeah,
4-2.
4-2. Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. With this team, I don't. Is it only 4 that go through to playoffs, or is it all 6?
Yes, yeah,
4.
it'll be 4 going through to the playoffs. So
Ooh.
right now they're tied for third in a three-way tie at 1 and 2.
Damn. See, I still see every team as like sort of has some like trick up their sleeve, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like every team sort of has the fear factor about them, but I don't know. I think isn't Goose's attendance supposed to be a
Yeah,
bit
he misses
iffy?
Tuesdays.
That's. I
Yeah.
think that's the big problem with this team. I mean, if Ricky V can step up, then
Good old
I mean,
Ricky Vim.
it's
I mean,
safe.
yeah, so
It's not that bad right now.
he's the starter on Tuesdays when Goose is not there, and he was the unfortunate recipient in net of the Mercy game. But he did actually come out of that with still a somewhat respectable save
Yeah,
percentage,
yeah.
considering allowing 6 goals in one game. To be over 50% is a bit of an accomplishment at that point.
Yeah, when he
So,
led in 6.
yeah, you got to give him credit for that, obviously. So he's clearly got it in him. It's just a matter of consistency and whether or not he can find that on a regular basis. And if I remember correctly, he kind of, as the game got on, got better. It felt like was making better saves the further we got into the game. Not to say he wasn't making good saves early,
No.
but it
Well,
definitely seemed like he
from
needed some time to get into
yeah,
it.
from the recipient of one of those Mercy games, something I notice is that once you're down by 4 or even 5, everything's getting tossed on net. Like there were a lot of long shots. Not
Yeah, a
as
lot of people are just trying to
Yeah,
take shots
you
at that
guys weren't.
point.
Yeah, it wasn't like you guys were in close on a lot of the goals against them, and then you started kind of shooting from further out. Seeming probably just trying to end it, which is how you do. You just put the pressure on,
Hmm.
and he was able to get a bunch of those, a bunch of easier saves, but still saves. But it definitely was, as we're kind of turtling and trying to stop the breakaways, and in close shots and all that. It's just, it was just sort of a different game in the second half.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen some people so far suggesting that picking DMB where he went was too high. How do you feel about that, Tony?
Um,
As somebody who's playing alongside him, I feel like you
I'm
have the best opinion of that of
yeah,
anyone.
I think DMB is honestly pretty good. I don't think it's really a bad pick. I don't think the team and me and him together are playing particularly well, and that's something that hopefully will change if it can. If it can't, then I don't know. Maybe Crab will have to shake something up, either with the lineup himself moving up or trade or whatever it is. But like DMB he's good. Like you could tell it's DMB. It's like, okay, this guy, he's a smart player. He's in good spots. He's good. The only thing, I don't know. It's odd. The draft was so weird, and sort of we had a very predictable first 2 rounds. I think
Yeah,
Yeah.
even the third round, for the most part, I think
kind of
went.
went how you'd expect it to.
Yeah,
Yep.
and DMB maybe looks a little odd there, but the only other thing I see happening is like Crab takes Ike, or maybe he takes Marchie if he was really
Mm.
feeling like gambling. But yeah, there's I don't know. I don't think a whole lot changes. I think Crab is probably the guy who wanted DMB and was probably the only one who was gonna go out and get him. Like he maybe could have waited, but I think Crab got the team he wanted. I don't think it really would have mattered to him who he got where. I don't know. DMB though, he's fine. Not at all uh, hurting the team. He's honestly a lot of the time in scrims and in these games looks like the only bright spot, especially when we're getting our shit kicked in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've also heard a few people. I won't name any names or throw anybody under the bus, but I've heard a few people that have suggested that they think Crab is going to be the first GM to make a trade this season.
Uh,
Ooh.
I could see it, especially if, well, I don't know. I don't know what it'll do on, like we talked about Goose missing. A big problem might be too little, too late with this team. Honestly, if we drop, 3 of these next 4 games, then that's
You're in a
trouble.
really deep hole, or
That's yeah,
like,
and it's
yeah,
yeah, and it's pretty possible if we don't turn it around. My problem with the Crab making trades, or my problem for him from his perspective, not
yep,
even really
yep.
mine, like trying to be is I don't think he has the trade chips. I think I am probably the only guy on the team he could trade and get like an impact player back, and I think it would be dumb of another GM to give that up for Crab right now. I don't think,
Yeah,
like I said, I'm talking about DMB being good, and I think he's good, but nobody like the league doesn't have a need for him. This is the team that has the forward spot for him. I don't think the other teams are really.
yeah, I would say maybe Toronto could work
Maybe
him in,
yeah, you could see maybe
because
Leafs and Kill's ear, but I'm pretty
yeah,
sure Kill was very against taking DMB. I thought he was higher on him, and then talking to him, I feel like he wasn't as high on DMB as I thought he was going into the draft.
yeah, I think there's a couple places he could sneak in, like over Drag maybe, or like over Ike maybe, but
But
it's
I don't
it's
think
tough
anybody shakes
to.
them up just for the sake of shake. I think
That's
Drag
what
and
I'm
Ike
saying.
have their
Yeah,
spots, and
yeah,
those aren't.
and it's hard to say at the moment like who's better
Yeah,
between them anyway. But just from the perspective
yeah,
of like like
yeah.
what spot might he have taken, You
Yeah.
know, it might have been some of those, or you know, like Jeet has been starting for Toronto, so that's another
Yeah, I
spot
guess
where
they're
you could
waiting
see
for.
that potentially happening. So, uh, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess it can happen. But
I think he has some
but
trade
I yeah
value, and I
I
think
don't
BG has some too, but BG's had a slow start to the season, and
yeah
I think that's going to make it hard to trade him if he doesn't pick it up quickly. It's going to
yeah
be really difficult to trade him and get significant value back from it. Um, so you kind of need him to start showing more. But then again, if he's showing more, then the team's probably playing better as well. So
yeah
it's sort of like a if he plays better, do you need to make a trade? But if he
hmm
plays better, he's also like up for being traded. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah
there's that sort of, I don't want to say it's a double-edged sword because it's not really the right term for it, but
um yeah, and those are like the three of us, me, DMB, and BG, are really the only guys you can. I don't think backups really hold much weight in this season in terms of a trade. I don't think there's, and it's not really anything against them. It's like there isn't an RSL. Like we have the Sunday League that's going to be a little odd, I think, a little different, and it's not. And all of these players being on teams anyway, it's not like there's a guy you can just go out and get. There's not like some RSLer who's scoring a lot and not being used
yep, yep,
like in previous seasons. This is kind of you have what you have,
yep.
and you're gonna have to deal with like a backup trade would pretty much just be for attendance purposes. I think there's not these guys. There's not some big trade. You can't add a backup in to give significant value. I think any trades we're going to see are going to be one for one, probably a positional swap.
Yeah, yeah. And you wonder how many of those will wind up being more just like, let's shake things up than
Hmm.
anything else. Though I do think with the potential for protections at the end of the season, I forget it was who brought it up originally, but the concept of trading for somebody who would be a valuable protection
Yeah.
if you're like a non-playoff team. Like that would be pretty interesting to see if, because you know, Crab's one of the people who I could absolutely see doing that if he's planning on GMing next season, which you know he usually GMs when he has the opportunity to. It would be really interesting to see if things weren't working out for you guys, him to like trade you to somebody and try to get like, you know, another starter plus a somebody who he could protect next season and get good
Hmm.
value for back in the trade.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be something. I think. I mean, not that these are trades that would conceivably happen just yet. At least, well, we'll see. We'll see as it goes on. Who knows what could happen? But the two big guys for me are Marchie and Ike, both
yep,
going in. I think
yep,
the fourth. Yeah, and uh, but I mean, those two are on two of the top two teams in the league. And I would say right now we're the clear top two teams in the league, not just in standings. I think as we stand, who's everybody has to play against them. I think it's probably pretty obvious that right now, at least, Colorado and New Jersey are the two toughest teams. So I don't know. I don't see either of those guys getting moved. Not like this early.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's purely speculation, but it's definitely
Yeah,
the type of thing where like, you know, is
it would
there
be
a
cool.
world where a U for
Yeah.
Marchi trade happens or a U for Ike trade happens? Like I could see both of those on paper being a thing that happens there. You probably want another player going back along with whoever you're sending over, whether it's Ike,
Ikey,
Ike or Marchi. Uh,
March.
you're probably sending another player back in addition to help balance that trade out. But I could certainly see both of these teams attempting to sort of try and make like a trade up, so to speak, in that area, um, and
Yeah, you
improve
probably
in
have
that
to get
way.
two
So
guys though. You're right. If you're gonna trade something for next season.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I'm
Yeah.
thinking. So
Yeah, that'd be cool.
something to keep an eye out for, and I just think it's interesting because Crab's in a position where that might actually, you know, be something
Something
to think
he's
about.
looking at. Yeah. Of
Yeah. So obviously
course,
way too
there is a
early
lot
for
of
it, but.
season left. You don't want to
Mhm,
pull the
mhm.
shoot just now.
Mhm.
Of course, I
We got
mean,
22 games, so there's plenty of
yeah.
time. All of this could be irrelevant. I mean, even Toronto, who's sitting at 0 and 3 right now, could run it back and win, you know, 18 games and end up as the top seed. I mean, it's too
Mhm.
early to tell at this point, which is especially difficult for like predicting and speculating things for this season because of the long gap that we had. And we spoke about this at the draft too, I think, which, made it difficult to understand who was going to be the right players to pick. But it's hard to tell who's going to come back quickly, who's going to take more time, who's going to be able to reach the level they used to, who's not, who are the people that are going to take a step up in absence of that now. It's really tough to tell, where those pieces are going to fall. Um, you can sometimes predict some of them a little better. Like I don't think the BG one is too surprising because I don't think he was like legitimately practicing or doing a lot to try to get back into the game. So seeing him start slow is not exactly surprising. And another one would be, and we can get into Colorado next, but another one would be like Marchie. If you've watched Marchie play, which I know you have, Tony, I don't know about you, Tidge, but you can see Marchie sort of knows what he needs to do, but the mechanical skill isn't quite there yet. Like there's a lot of kind of fluffed or missed opportunities, missed chances, missed plays that he's running into over and over again. And it's clear that he needs a lot more practice to shake off the rust, but he's also the type of player that's not going to do that. So it's really hard to know how long playing at this rate it will take for him to get back to the level he's capable of, if it ever even happens. So that's always going to be sort of a wrench in the prediction game, so to speak.
Yeah. Be a trade. Trade wise, though, I don't know. I don't know if I see it just yet from Crab.
No,
I
I
bet
think it's
somebody
too
else
early.
makes a move before Crab too. I think
I think
he's
it's too
gonna,
early.
but he might end up waiting too late. But then we talk about that. Crab seems like the kind of guy who would do that strategy of maybe offering a lot for
Well, he's
something he can keep.
he's definitely shown in the past that he's not the type of person to really be sentimental about things. Like he will trade people that he likes and that he thinks are good if it benefits the team. I mean, he has a reputation as a GM for doing things like that. And there are
Yeah,
certainly plenty of players who have been scorned by him in the past, but it works out for Crab almost every time. So
yeah.
you can't really take him down a notch for it, honestly.
Uh,
So
Now I do have no reason to believe this, and no, I don't see a trade come in the future. I'm fucking like off the record here to the public listening. I can definitely see Crab trading my ass. Like he's gonna do it. I can already tell I'm gonna get traded. Like it's early enough. I don't think it's gonna happen soon, but it's coming. I don't believe I finished this season on
we'll
his
have
team.
to we'll have to timestamp this and come
Yeah,
back to it if it ever happens. So
That's an early prediction right there.
yep, it
yeah.
is. It is.
I hope it's earlier than, like I want to kind of try to stick it through with this team and like hopefully get good. If we could just squeak into the playoffs, Goose will have perfect attendance in the playoffs. And Goose
Make a
is
big
really, really
difference.
good.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the team might succeed, and I think it's gonna succeed without me on it. That's my prediction for old Seattle, is that they're gonna
Okay.
be better when I'm gone,
All right.
and I'm gonna be like, well, that stinks.
So let's shift gears then and get into Colorado so we can make it through all 6 of these teams in somewhat reasonable time. Thank you for the timestamp comment, Quacky. I'll be able to go back and look for that. Um, so Colorado is the team that I play for, if you don't know. We are currently second in the league, 1 point out of first place, or 1 point out of being tied for first place with New Jersey, who I believe we play on Tuesday, actually. So
First
that
game.
match is coming up soon. That's going to be
Exciting
fun.
stuff. We
Yep.
gotta get that one on stream somehow.
So, yep. So you're going down, Tidge. Just in
No,
advance.
No.
I mean, seeing the points from you and Quacky does worry me a little bit, but
Yeah, hey, me too. Wow, wish that hadn't happened.
we have a little dude called Otto. That's our
That's
little
your
weapon.
counter. Yep.
Yeah, just
I
one
mean,
guy.
it's a pretty good counter though. So,
God,
but yeah.
yeah,
So
I can't wait to talk about that.
our team's been a little interesting so far this season. So for those who
Thanks, one white
know,
bucket.
we we went with the elite strategy of having 4 forwards, Marchie, and a goalie. And it's working. It is working. We've been starting Guy on defense, who's never played defense in an LHL setting
Yeah.
before. But just having him on the ice at all makes a huge difference.
It's
Um,
dangerous.
yeah, he's an incredibly good player regardless of where he's positioned and regardless of where he is at any given point on the ice. He's always a threat because he's just such a proficient player at everything, shooting, passing, handling, like playing defense, blocking shots. He can do everything.
He's got
He's
that
an
extendo twig.
Oh
He can
yeah.
reach you from a mile
Oh
away.
yeah, yep. He's an amazing forechecker, amazing back checker. Like there's very few things that guy does not excel at. And okay, his receiving could be better, Quacky. I agree. But that's on a short list of things, a very short list that probably is, you know, less than you can count on one hand. So anyway, we've been starting him on defense, and the caveat there is that he can only play 12 games during the regular season as he's sub 50% attendance, and we still don't know what the date of his surgery is that is going to keep him out for the rest of the season. So that's sort of hanging in the balance right now. And as we don't know what the date is, we're basically continuing to play him to just get as many games as possible out of him. And the offense is definitely better off for it. I mean, as a defenseman, he's putting up 2 points a game, as is Marchie. But that's, obviously small sample size, but still, that's a really incredible rate for a defenseman to be scoring at, or at least participating offensively at. And we definitely want to maximize that as much as we can in the 12 games that we have him for. Similar to you guys with Goose, right? You want to maximize the games that you have when Goose is there during the regular season.
Well, Goose he signed up over 50.
Yes,
He's
but because he's missing
yeah,
Fridays, he's going to wind up
Tuesdays.
missing Tuesdays. He's going to wind up missing
Half the season.
Yeah, and because Tuesday was the day that had the one game on it, he'll end up missing, I believe, 13 of the 25 games. So it'll either be 13 or 11, but I think it's 13. So I think he's only going to be there for 12 games in total. So pretty sure it'll work out to be the same as Guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, our team has obviously done very well, 6-0, 5-4, and 7-2. I think it goes without saying, as most people probably predicted, that our offense was going to be the strong suit of the team, and it certainly has been up to this point. We're putting up a lot of shots per game, and we're allowing very few shots per game. But honestly, I think the shots allowed is more of a product of like us having the puck and generating offense is in itself a form of defense because we're keeping the puck away from them and
That's
minimizing
Dyal's favorite
chances.
kind of defense.
It is.
The one where you play
It
in the
is.
offensive zone.
The whole time, yeah. It is the elite form of defense. You don't even have to play it if you could just play offense for 15 minutes.
Who needs to play D?
Yeah. So it's working so far, but obviously, again, small sample size. We're at the beginning of the season. A lot of people are still shaking out the rust. A lot of teams are still working out how to play together and how to play against one another. So it's tough to say, and we have yet to play Boston or New Jersey in a league match. So I believe we get both of them on Tuesday. And Boston arguably would be on paper one of the teams best equipped to handle us, given that they have two of the better defensemen in the league. Plus, Sully is one of the more talented goalies in the league as well. And you've got Paco, who's an incredibly defensively responsible forward. You're putting up a really good offense versus what should be a really good defense. That, to me, should be a really interesting game and a really exciting opportunity to see, what of those two things is stronger,
Yeah.
the elite defense or the elite offense? And
Okay.
then New Jersey game will be somewhat similar. Austin's one of the better, if not the best defenseman in the league right now, at least in my opinion. And Otto is the best goal scorer and probably the best forward in the league at the moment. I think that's pretty fair to say. He's dominating, and we'll get into that once we get to New Jersey a little bit more. But yeah. Hello, Nova. Welcome to the stream.
I think what would be interesting about the New Jersey Colorado game is I don't even think we've scrimmed yet. This
No. Most of our scrims have been against LA, Boston, and Seattle, I think.
yeah, I haven't even watched any of the games either. So like, it's like
It's
almost delving
fucked.
into the unknown.
Shit, I think you guys are the only team we haven't scrimmed yet.
Yeah, I haven't scrimmed. Yeah, we've scrimmed every team except from
Yeah.
Colorado.
It's tough to remember. Most of the scrims we've done have been against Seattle. We've done a fuckload of scrims against Seattle.
Yeah.
So I know actually we didn't do Toronto on Friday because we were playing against them. That's right. So we did Boston. So
You guys getting a lot of or Dials, but probably not Tidge. Probably not something asked of you as much. But you getting the goalies asking you to shoot on them, and you like, maybe guys on the other team. Keeps happening to me, and I don't do it. I'll do it all off season, and I'll do it for my own goalie whenever they ask. But I do not shoot on other teams' goalies when the
I
season's
don't
going
like.
on.
I agree. I don't like shooting on other teams' goalies. I don't see a reason to train them in
Yeah, you're
making
shooting.
saves against you like that. I don't really see how that's a benefit to you in most cases. But you could argue that scrims provide a similar level
Yeah.
of practice for them. But then again, so do pubs. So it's pretty much like if you're gonna play the game, there's almost no way around it. But yeah, the one-on-one practice. Um, I don't think anybody's asked me since the season started outside of skis. Eric has. Eric has asked me once or twice.
Well,
But
you should
beyond
help him out.
that, nobody else has asked me. I know PK asked Cap once. I think Sully asked one of our teammates
Yeah, I
once.
think Sully asked me. Sully and
Um,
Skis asked me, and I was like, no way.
yeah. So, because I mean, it's
I,
purely a benefit for the goalie's sake. Like
yeah,
they don't really
exactly.
stand to lose anything from it. So
A lot
I don't
of
really
my
blame them for asking. But
yeah, no, it's worth it. It's worth
yeah.
asking. I bet people do it. They probably don't think.
Just
But,
say yes and then just throw so many terrible shots.
I look at it as the same way as like you don't
bad up.
scrim the team that you're gonna
Yeah,
play
you're
that
playing
night.
against that night. Yeah,
Like
but I mean, at the same time, you made me think of, well, if you scrim them on the week before 3 times or whatever, then I don't know. They still learning. I mean, I guess
Nova's got it
whatever.
right in chat. The elite strategy, which he's saying he implements, is that when they ask him to shoot on them, he just shoots them wide. So that's the real big brain play, is you go to a goalie on another team and you just take really terrible shots the whole
Yeah.
time, and you're just like,
No.
I don't know what it is, man. I'm just having an off day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nova's got it down, so I'm with you, Nova. That's the play right there.
So can I dip into the LHL funds to buy myself like a 50-foot Ethernet cable so I stop using this wall jack? It's
No,
directly related to LHL.
no,
Let's put a poll out, guys.
no.
I want to see in the chat.
A straw poll?
Yeah, I want to see in the chat votes for using the LHL funds to get me a long Ethernet cable so I can hardwire in right now.
Look, Nova, we're all bad at this game. The only person that isn't is Juice, and he's not
He's
playing.
not playing. Yeah,
That's the thing. Juice was so good, he was smart enough to know that it wasn't worth playing.
He's kind of like Matt.
Yep, kind of like Matt in that aspect. So.
Except when he comes back and goes first overall, that team's gonna win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping he doesn't play next season.
Oh, you want to hear my? I'm not done with my Seattle predictions. It turns out I don't remember if I shared this with you guys.
Okay.
This is an early prediction. Okay,
All right.
Season 21, Crab picking first overall picks Juice.
Ooh.
So
and he protects Goose with his fourth.
Here's my follow-up. Does Crab have the first overall pick given to him, or does he have to trade for it? Like, does he have it, or
I think
does he have to acquire it?
Crab's tanking. Now that I've put this theory out there, Crab is blowing up the team even worse than it looks right now.
I mean, honest, if you're not a contender, it's not a bad idea.
Because Juice, I don't see him staying away for too long.
Timestamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, timestamp. Quacky, can we get a timestamp in the chat, please?
Yeah, and I think Juice couldn't resist the call of the Crab team. Oh man. They won. I think they were the best team in all 3 months of Friday Night Hockey. Was the Crab
That doesn't
Juice
surprise
connection.
me. Crab's a really good facilitator, so when you get him with
Crab didn't play a whole lot.
Well, still.
He should have played more. But he was a good GM, built a good team on the
Yep.
4-team league, and
Yep.
more importantly, grabbed juice, and then I let him protect him. Oh
All
well.
right, so wrapping things up with Colorado, because Guy's been here, because Marchie has been here, both Cap and Doc have actually not been able to play at all,
Oh, yeah.
which I know is something that Cap is bittersweet about. And at some point, we'll get him on here for one of these as well, and he can talk about it a little bit
Yeah.
more. But I'm sure he was
And
never
he will be
intending to be a
playing.
non-playing GM.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So certainly not the situation he wanted, but I know it's something that he is, disappointed he's not playing, but happy to see that he has 4 players on his team better than him because it, obviously means that he did something right. So, so yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens to our team when Guy's not here anymore. That's going to be a big shift for us. Losing Guy and subbing in anybody for Guy is a net loss. Not to say anything negative about Cap or Doc or anybody else who would fill that spot, but obviously, Guy's a transcendent player. He's incredibly
Guy
good.
is a top pick in the. You're talking about not too many good players. Guy is one of them.
Yeah, he is one of them. And if he
Juicy
had
guy.
proper attendance, he probably would have been a top 3 pick.
Hmm.
So
For sure.
it's definitely
Well,
definitely going
he
to
probably would have
be.
DM'd and he would have picked last, and his team would probably be fine.
He's a top 3 first round draft pick quality
Yeah.
player. How's that? How's
Yeah.
that for a
Yeah.
qualifier?
Yeah.
Little long-winded, but anyway, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when the shift ends up, when we have to transition to that. Cap has experience playing defense before. He's been on a team that's won the finals as a defenseman, playing alongside Taze and Austin. So he's done it before, and he's done it to a cup contending level. So it'll be interesting to see how well he gets back to that, especially seeing how much Marchie shows up to play alongside him. I think
Hmm.
that'll make a big difference. So,
Yeah, it
all
would
right.
be a big shift if it went from Marchie and Guy to Cap and Doc all of a sudden.
Oh
Not that
yeah,
those guys
yeah,
are fucking like bad, useless, like oh fuck, they're gonna like hurt the team. But like Guy and Marchie are insane to
yeah.
go to a
March is
more
one of the best
normal
defensemen of
defense.
all time, and
Yeah.
Guy's one of the better players of all time. So
Shout out Doc though. He's underrated.
I would agree. Yeah, yep. No shout outs
Didn't
to
he didn't
Cap
even
though.
ask me. No,
Cap's
Cap can go
overrated.
to hell. Cap sucks.
Yeah, my
Can't
vote
wait
for
to play
most
can't wait
overrated
to play
player.
more NHL with those guys. Just playing for hours with them today.
Oh man. Okay. Let's go to New Jersey next. We'll do Tidge's team. Knock out the third team that we
That is
represent
what
here.
that's how I think of it too. Tidge's team.
Yep, Tidge's team.
Yeah. Yeah. Get me
Sorry,
for the
Austin.
top.
Sorry, Otto. It's Tidge's show now.
Yeah.
Welcome
So
to the
me.
Euro show.
This is my team.
So Tidge, you want to give us a quick thought or two about how the season's going for you guys? Obviously, you guys are 3-0 in regulation, all 3 wins, so you've got the leg up over Colorado. You guys have sole possession of first place at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's gonna stay like that as well. But yeah, it's been. I mean, we haven't really had like massive wins. I mean, 2 games have been by 1 goal. 1 game's been by 2 goals. But I think it's mainly. I think we've come as a team just knowing each other's traits pretty quickly, and I think that's what it's been down to. Really, it's quite. I mean, I know it's Otto. Like you look at the points and he's like far ahead of everybody else. But I mean, I think Otto's just like that as well, just purely based because I don't know if have you two been on a team with Otto
Oh yeah.
before?
Well, he hasn't.
Tony has. I have
I've
not
been
had
on
the
Yeah.
pleasure.
I've been on a
So
bunch
Yeah,
of teams
I
with
don't think
Otto.
Doll will ever be on a team with
if
Otto.
I'm on a team with Otto, there's one of the two of us is terrible. Like one of the two of us has fallen off a cliff so badly. Like
You guys were 1 pick from being teammates in season 11 though. When Guy was GM and he went with the defenseman, didn't trust
yeah,
himself to
and
play D.
there actually was a season in which I could have picked him as a GM. There was a season where he was available at my pick in
Oof.
the first round, and I opted to go with a defenseman instead of him.
Did you win the cup that season?
No.
Yikes.
and he will never let me forget it, which is entirely reasonable. I don't blame him at all. It was definitely
Was it
not the right decision.
was it
But
one of those crappy auto seasons though, like in the middle there?
it was like a season 11 or
Yeah.
some like not even a crappy auto season, right? Just just
Yeah.
he wasn't as world level
Yeah.
dominant as he was in other seasons.
Yeah,
So
he was the best player in the league. Then he was a very good player in the league, and then he was the best player in the league. And
yep,
we're still living in that world.
yep, yep,
Just hasn't ended yet.
yep. Not sure that it will, honestly.
No,
Not sure that it will.
as long as he plays, I
Yep,
imagine he just plays that game on a different level.
yep. He just
Except
hits
Juice. Juice
different,
is the
man.
best.
Yeah, the Juice versus Auto thing would definitely have been interesting. I was looking forward to that this season, and
Yeah, I
I
know.
feel like we got kind of robbed of it. So
Now it's just you and Quacky and Marchie and Guy versus Otto. If
yeah,
you look at the top 5 scorers, at least in the whole
yep,
league,
yep.
that's just great. That's good stuff, guys.
I think one of the best things about Otto playing with him, and it was the same when I was on Boston, is that he's always talking. He's always saying where he is. I mean, why wouldn't you want to pass to Otto? Like when he's telling you every time where he is, then it makes it way easy for like me and Austin who are trying to,
Just
find
get the puck to
breakouts.
him.
Shuffle,
Yeah,
Yeah,
trying to
yep.
shove the puck towards him so you can get your free assist. I know.
yeah.
I know
And
the
he just,
feeling.
skates into the middle, pass 1, pass 2. Oh, there you go. There's an assist.
Yeah, it's the dream.
So
I do.
go ahead.
Oh no, nothing.
I was just gonna say, what's it like playing alongside Austin? Because I mean, you've played defense with him before, haven't you?
I don't think
Played.
so.
I played him in 2019, one of them revival
Oh,
tournaments,
Okay,
okay.
but
okay.
don't really remember
Was
much of
that
it.
the one that I organized where we had like a full season thing and
I think it was one of the seasons where it just didn't end.
Oh, that was the crab one.
the crab one?
The
Yeah,
first one.
I
That
Okay,
was like
think
the
it
one
was
okay.
that
right
one.
after season
Yeah,
19.
Yep, yep.
it
When
just yeah.
the one where Crab realized we weren't doing season 20 right away, and he was like, "Oh God, tournament." Yep.
Yeah, I think it was that one. But yeah, it's hard to remember it. But yeah, I like doing it with Austin. I mean, I don't know. I think it's still early days. I think we've still got things we need to like learn about each other. Still, like sometimes I'm playing some wacky passes to him, and I'm like, sorry,
And he's just got to
Yep.
learn to deal with that.
but he's got the luxury of ping on his side to get out of there. Sometimes I've only got like a second to deal with, and I'm
Well, yeah, because you're playing with 100 ping, so you're at a
yeah,
significant disadvantage, which
oh,
is
yeah,
something I think a lot of people don't remember when talking about like you and defenseman Jerry, is that you guys are playing on double or sometimes even triple the ping of what the people on your teams are playing with. So everything you have to do has way more of a predictive element to it, and that can really make it a lot harder to find success on a regular basis. And as a result, I personally think there's a lot more respect for people like the two of you and like Migo, who Nova points out in chat. Seeing you guys play well is really impressive because of that extra handicap that you guys have to deal with that, we just don't even have to think about. And I honestly, I can't imagine having to play on that ping regularly. Like, I don't think I'd even do it.
My
I
ping
don't
it,
think I'd
was
have the
up at
willpower to do it.
my
it's
ping was
got
up at 90 not yesterday in the scrims, and I couldn't believe I was like ready to
Yeah,
not
I
play.
like don't even want to play when it gets that bad. So
Yeah.
the fact that you guys do that regularly, it just like it blows my mind.
it's gotten to the point though where I've played on it for so long now. I'm probably better on NA servers than I am EU. I'm just used to it. But
Yeah.
the only thing that sort of is hard on this ping is like in pubs if I play G, like making a reaction time like save is just impossible.
Yeah,
Because
you
like
have
it'll
to
be
predict it or you're
it
fucked.
it will be in and then my stick will move.
Yeah. Yeah, you just don't
But
have the latency to be able to make a
yeah,
reactive play like
that's
that.
that's basically it really. But I also can't really like dangy or anything because my stick can't move that fast.
Well, that could be a blessing in disguise. Unless
Yeah,
you're a handful of players, you should probably avoid the dangy
Oh no,
crutch.
I'm gonna score a
yeah,
dang goal this season.
and that's something that
Windmill teeth.
Tony, you and I have preached that for so long, the play to your strengths element of the game. Like everybody should always play to their strengths because that's where you're going to be the best at. A lot of people get caught up in trying to do a lot of things that they can't do regularly, um, especially in league games, and that's not that's not the time and the place to do it. Like when it comes to league games especially, you want to play to the things that you're already good at. And if that's like what you're talking about here, Tidge, like, you know that you're not going to be able to deke around people well. So what do? You don't do that. Instead, you make passes, you look for outlets around you with drops and cross passes and whatnot, and you make that work. And
Hmm.
that makes you successful as a player because you're not trying to do a lot of things that you are at a significant disadvantage with, and as a result, you're not causing more negative plays than you should be. And too many people get too caught up in being like, "Oh, I'm going to be the hero on this play and make this like really sick shot or like this sick dangy around these two people," and it doesn't work like that most of the time. So
Yeah, especially when you've got like two offensive like Otto and Ike who, handle the puck so well. I mean, Ike's very similar to like the March situation where you can still see it's like there, but like, give it half a season, Ike would probably be back, where he was like 2 years ago.
hmm and he was incredibly talented and was one of the better forwards back then too in season
Yeah.
19. So
Yeah,
um,
he had an insane like 42 goals or something crazy.
yep. Which does lead into my next question I was going to ask you, Tidge. Ike has been a little quiet so far, and I was first going to ask you sort of what your thoughts were about that, because you actually have more shots than him. Otto's sitting at a whopping 18, which
Oh,
is
that's incredible.
yeah, which is number one in the league by far. Next
Yeah.
closest are Quacky and I with 12 each. Um,
6 ahead.
so pretty clear what the strategy is for New Jersey. It's get Otto the fucking puck. Um,
Yeah.
but
Is Ike buying into that?
there's definitely room for Ike to fit in and find success around that, similar to what he did when they played together in Montreal. Otto draws an incredible amount of attention to him from defensemen for obvious reasons, and that does open up the ice elsewhere for what you would assume would be Ike's opportunity to get some easy offensive opportunities with Otto pulling a lot of the defense away. But instead, so far, it's been actually more you generating shots, where you have double the shots he has and second on the team right now at 4 compared to the 18. So early
Yeah.
days still, but what are your thoughts on Ike right now?
Oh man, I love Ike. He still knows how to like handle the puck and get a pass off to it. I mean, he's still got 4 assists. That's like compared to like other teams like Boston and anybody else, still quite a high amount of assists. And that's generally what he's been doing early on. Is like I remember watching back a few games. He's had chances where he can just blast down goal, but he's just cut it back to the middle, and there's Otto. But yeah, I think I don't know why I have so many shots. I don't know, and no goal either. That's just sad. Literally, like the 18 shots that I had is crazy.
Oh,
And
it's unbelievable. Like
Yeah,
but
that's
six
hilarious.
shots per game is I think the highest pace we've ever had during a season before.
But he keeps it up.
I swear most of that was in that LA game because I was like getting so angry in the Discord that I wasn't finishing every pass I was making into him, and now I
I've
have
been there.
one assist. I'm like, fuck you.
I've been there with a different high shooting forward who screws me out of assists
And yeah, I got my
way
first
back in the day.
point against Seattle. I was over the moon after like 30, 40 minutes of hockey. I somehow only get my first point.
To characterize what Otto's done so far, the highest shots per game from one player in a single season is 5.26, and Otto's currently at 6 per game.
Hell
So
yeah.
he's
Keep that up, buddy.
he's on pace to shatter the shots per game record right now for a single player. And at even if he's only scoring at a 40% shooting percentage, which is roughly league average for a forward, usually about like 38 to 40-ish%, he's scoring 2 to 3 goals per game, basically. Let's call it two. If you're guaranteed 2 goals a game, pretty much every game from one player, you're in a really good spot.
Just seen he's contributed to 100% of the goals.
Yeah, you guys have
Yeah.
not scored a goal without him
Oh,
participating in it.
hey,
Yeah.
Dial. I was
Yep.
asking Austin about this last night because
Yep.
I saw Otto's 100% goal participation, which is unreal, and even 3 games in, it's insane that like that's something that's wild to have for more than a game or two. How do you remember what season it was where I don't remember even what team. I think I was on it though, where you had like 100% goal participation for like half the season, and we wanted to see how long you could keep that up
Yeah,
before
I
we.
do
Was
remember
that
that.
Dallas? Do you,
I don't
I would
remember what
guess
team it
Dallas.
was. It might have was it as far back as like season 11?
No. I think I was playing on it. I think it was season 16 or 17.
It might have been season 16 where we had
Yeah.
Lucic and traded him away. Because I remember what you're talking about. I went like 8
Yeah.
or 9 games or something with 100% goal
Yeah.
participation.
He probably finished in the 90s.
Yeah.
Let me just take a quick peek back and see where your highest goal participation is.
While you're looking that up, Tidge, I do have one more question for you about New Jersey before we move on to the next team. But for New Jersey, with Otto having 100% goal participation, right? The next closest one is you've got, two people who are sitting at 40. Are you concerned that like what could happen if Otto has an off day or if the other team puts out a good defensive performance against Otto? Like, are you concerned what the offense is going to look like if Otto's not clicking for a game?
Right now it's hard to see if I will have an off day, but
I
yeah,
mean, yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
What you mean, but I think I like what I was saying earlier, like how I feel like Ike's improving every game. I think there's just going to be a point where maybe Otto's shots do go down, but that's purely based off Ike's just scoring now as well.
Mhm.
I think there's just going to come a point where Ike just, like a switch
clicks.
just flicks, yeah, and
Clicks,
he
yeah.
just starts scoring because he has had quite a few chances. I know it says 2 shots, but that's just on target, isn't it? I
Yeah,
think
it is.
it's been he
Things
has
that
had
weren't
chances.
blocked, things that made it to the goalie. Let's put it that way. Made it to the goalie and were on net.
Yeah, but yeah, I just think there will be a. I mean, yeah, it's hard to say, but yeah, if I does have a bad day, I think. I mean, we have, I think, good. 18 shots against. I think we're quite comfortable at the back as well to not concede that many. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say really.
The main
What will
reason I
happen.
ask is because I've been the person in that situation before, and a lot of times, especially in the playoffs, where teams play a lot tighter across the board, it's usually harder to keep up the same level of scoring that you're able to put up during the course of the
Yeah,
regular
yeah,
season. And teams will go out of their way to make sure they're focusing you as much as possible. And as a result, you kind of have to lean more on the rest of the players around you to actually be able to put up some scoring and open up the ice a little bit more for you and sort of make the opposing teams respect your teammates as well. And
yeah.
if that doesn't happen, then you're kind of fucked. So I just sort of wanted to get your input on that and see whether or not you had the faith in Ike and yourself and Austin as well to be able to carry the load if that situation does arise. So
Oh, I'll carry the load, 100%. Yeah, yeah. I think if teams want to focus on shutting down at home more, I think it's just gonna open up Hike way more, and especially Austin as well. Austin can, if he gets the puck and he gets a little bit of time on the blue line, he's probably going to score.
yeah, I would agree.
He's got the handles. Plus, I think the thing we're focusing on here, if it were and Tidge briefly mentioned it, but from the outside, not on the team, it's like, well, yeah, you could focus on shutting down Otto, and I think that's what people have been trying to do for the last 3.5 years.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
doesn't work.
Yep.
It doesn't. It hasn't worked at any point. It doesn't happen.
In some series it has. In some series it has. After the Calgary run, he was still dominant, but I don't think he won a cup after the Calgary run, right?
Yeah, season 19 Dial, he beat
So,
you.
oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. So, okay, so he has still won one. All right, no, that's fair.
And he was dominating.
Yeah.
At that.
But he was stopped in season 16, 17, and 18, right?
17. Did they make the playoffs? They made the playoffs.
Montreal
Yeah,
was it 17
that was
Montreal
his
or
really
was
only
16
bad season.
Montreal?
That was 16 was Montreal. 17 was that Washington team
Yeah.
with Juice. I imagine a team with Otto and Juice on it, and you botch it.
Yep.
The rest
That's
of that
the last
team
time
should feel
those two
bad.
will ever be together on a team.
Oh my god, that's
Yep.
insane. If
Yep.
that was just like a couple seasons later.
Could you
that's
fucking
like,
imagine? Oh my god.
like it was like I don't even know, man.
Yep.
Oof.
All right. A quick one, Tidge, for you. Lucic. We gonna see him anytime soon?
Oh,
Is this the revival season for Lucic?
When's it coming?
oh man, I'd love it. I'd love it if that happened. He has been here for every game, so there may be a little surprise. I mean, there's a lot of depth in this team. Like, it's easy just to take me off and put Otto back in defense and then shove Lucic on if we need that much like offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if maybe like one game we're down like 3-0, it could just be something like, right, put Otto back on defense, put Lucic on, and fucking go all out. So maybe Lucic does make his appearance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just wanted to toss that one out there. Go ahead, Tony.
I can't picture a single player in the whole league I wish was better more than Lucic. I wish he was back at what he used to be. That would be so good for the league.
It would be. It definitely would be.
Oh well.
All right, let's go to Boston. Let's go to Nova's team. I know Nova's been very active in the chat, so we'll chat about that. And
Nova's team.
for the record, it is Nova's team, just like it's Tidge's team. This is Nova's team we're talking about here. So, Boston were the team that traded back, the team that said no, thank you, we don't want Otto. So I think
hate wins.
As
hate
a result,
wins.
I think as a result, Sully and Boston are going to be kind of heavily under the microscope for a lot of this season. And I think that's pretty justifiable when you're passing on the best player to sign up for the league anyway, if not the best player in the game at the moment, up there with Juice. It's definitely something that they're going to have to sort of be able to answer for. And they did build a pretty well-rounded team that in theory should be able to handle that, but unfortunately they've started off on, I know it's early, right? So it's hard to put a ton of value in it, but they have started off in a 1 and 2 spot so far. So definitely not where they were hoping to be at this point in time. What do you guys think have been the reasons for that so far?
Well, just looking at the stats, looks like Sully's got to be better. Sully is really good at stopping pucks, and I would have expected like at least honestly 10% higher save percentage. It's early. I think he'll bounce back. I think that's a big reason though. They got a good shot differential. Well-rounded roster. Looks like maybe Sully just had a bad week. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind
I
of
know some teams aren't as high on them as I have been. I think. I mean, they're the team we beat, and that was the best game we've played, scrim or league game or otherwise, was that game against them, and it was kind of a little bit of us, a bit of them. Like we felt like they weren't playing very well. Like I think they got tilted early, maybe. I'm not really sure what happened there, but I think that team looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Even
I don't see how this team doesn't doesn't win quite a lot of games this season and makes it to the playoffs. I think they may be the third best team.
That's what
right
I
now.
think too. I think they're definitely capable of that at least.
Yeah, I'd
that's
have
like
to agree. I mean, they definitely have one of the most well-rounded teams. Yeah, Quacky, I'd say it's a little too early for playoff predictions. We had some people give their opinions out at the draft for fun, but I think at this point we need to see another week or two of games minimum before we can start to say, these people are likely to be trending towards the playoffs and whatnot. So, but anyway, I think they have a really, again, on paper, really well-rounded team. Dalf and Taze, two of the best defensemen to ever play. Paco's an incredible player, heavily underrated, and Dalf Drag has come back and actually shown that he does have something to give to a team right now. He's leading their team in shots at the moment. Definitely going to see more goals coming through for him with the rate he's shooting at. So
Mhm.
I think part of it is Sully hasn't been playing up to the level that I'm sure he believes he's capable of, or he knows he's capable of.
probably the rest of us too, if
Well, yeah,
anybody's
that's why I
seen
rephrased it,
Sully.
right? Because I don't think there's anybody who thinks Sully is a bad goalie. He's definitely incredibly talented. Uh, but I would also point out that their shooting percentage is really low. In low 30s is pretty bad for
This is the
team-wide shooting
PDO team.
percentage. Yeah, yeah.
Low save
Bring
percentage,
in your
low shooting
PDO.
percentage.
Yeah, yeah. 85% PDO, not particularly good. So if you subscribe to the PDO belief, that would mean that theoretically that means they've been unlucky and that it's going to balance out at some point soon. But
Mhm.
obviously I don't think HQM really works that way, the same way that real hockey does necessarily.
Yeah,
And
you
even
can
then,
get
I think,
smashed and keep it going, but
yeah, I
with
think
this team, I
PDO
don't know.
is a,
I didn't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna end up having a good season.
yeah, and they're a team that's 1-2, but I don't think they've been playing poorly. Like, and you and I have watched a number of the games so far, right? Having done
Hmm.
stats and whatnot, so we've seen a bit more of this team than most people probably have. Going through and watching their games up to this point, I really don't feel like there was a game that they were not good in. Outside of maybe the Seattle game, they definitely had some execution issues. It seemed like they were sort of,
I think they only put 5 shots on net, which
yeah,
is looking at them shooting over 9 a
it,
game. That seems like a crazy outlier. They must have been shooting
yeah,
like 14 a game in the other ones.
um, yeah. So it was definitely, not the best performance, but on the whole, I think they're playing better than a 1-2 record suggests. How about that? I think that's a good way to word it. So I do expect them to sort of bounce back a bit, and Tuesday is going to be a big day for all of these teams that are tied here because we have three of them at 1-2. We've mentioned many times up to this point in the show, it is still early in the season, but with that said, a bad Tuesday could put you at 1-4 to start the season, and that's a really rough spot to be in. You still have 20 games left to go, so it's certainly not something you can't climb out of. But when you set yourself that far behind a playoff spot that early into the season, you put a lot of extra weight on every one of those games in front of you, and you take away pretty much any leeway that you have to make mistakes and come back from that in the future. So it's definitely not a situation that they want to find themselves in. And I believe they play one of Seattle and LA, I think.
Uh,
And I think their
no,
other
they play
game,
LA and you guys
yeah, that's what I
on
was saying.
Tuesday.
They play one of Seattle and you guys, and then the other was going to be against us. Like I couldn't remember if it was you guys or LA that they played, is what
Oh
I was
no,
getting at
sorry,
there.
one of you guys. I
Yeah,
see. I see.
sorry.
Yeah, that's LA.
Um, so yeah, so I mean, in that LA game could wind up having some significant, we'll put it this way, it could have significant ramifications for tiebreakers if it comes down to that. Obviously, as it stands at the moment, right, we have Colorado and New Jersey starting to pull away from the pack a bit, and it looks like we got another tier of teams following behind that are all neck and neck at the moment. So these head-to-head games are going to be important as the head-to-head record is the determining tiebreaker between two teams first in the standings. So
Cool. Yeah, that I'm very excited
anyway, I think that team has a
for
lot of
that first
potential.
one.
So I definitely think
Mhm.
they're gonna pick it up and pick it up
Yeah,
into
I'm
a
sure.
better gear than what they've been at so far. I have every confidence in that. So all right, should we talk about LA, the other team we just mentioned a
Sure.
couple times there? Tidge,
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Yep. Lost
That's
Angles.
yeah. That's ooh.
So Tidge, how do you feel about LA so far this season? I ask you this because they have a lot of your old friends on their team. So
Yeah.
Former friends.
If there was a team I could be on, if it would be this team. But yeah, I mean the 1-0, yeah, it was a really weird result, but like I said earlier, that game could have been easily like 5-5, 6-4, some mad scoreline. But it was just purely based off, I think LA were missing Lalu, and
Jalalu. Yep.
yeah, I don't know what his attendance is going to be like this season. I don't know if that was just a last minute sort of, oh, I can't actually make this game, but I'm sure it won't be because he wouldn't have been a first round pick. Defensively, they seem pretty good, and I mean PK, from what I've seen, it looks like he's never left the game.
Yeah, he looks like the early favorite for the best goalie,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is unsurprising. It's PK's a name that you've heard in reference to that award many times in the past, and I'm completely, totally shocked that he's up for consideration for that again this season, or at least looks to be trending that way. So
I think one player that shot me on there was Johnny. I think when we played him, I mean Johnny's been pubbing quite a bit, and yeah, when we played, he handled the puck really well. He was passing the puck really well, and
mhm.
I mean for a guy that's been out of the game for so long, I think like where he was put, like his pick as well. I think like that was a great pick for him. I think he's going to turn out to be, I think like a player that hasn't really been talked about, but he's probably going to have a good season. I think.
A nice like
Yeah, he
under
looks
the
good.
radar. Yeah.
He looks good in pubs. He scored
Yeah,
already. He broke the goal drought. It
he
didn't even
did.
get
He
going.
did.
It didn't even
Against my
start.
team, I'm pretty sure, after I called him out for the goal drought in the draft. So I certainly deserved that. So shout out to you, Johnny, for that goal.
Johnny wasn't putting up with that this season. He was
Nope.
getting it out
No,
of the way.
he ain't
He
taking no
wasn't waiting
shit.
till the end.
Either that or this is the start of a new drought. That's his one
Yeah.
goal, and now he's about to go
Yeah,
on
but
another
yeah, who
drought.
cares? It says it's gonna say one on the schedule. History's gonna remember it as it could have been anywhere.
Yeah. Anyway,
Lalu missed a
yeah,
day for them.
it's
That was big.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's tough to evaluate where this team is at, given that they didn't have Lalu for two of their three games so far. Similar to Boston, they've got a pretty low shooting percentage, but that's definitely a result of not having Lalu there to generate some of those better shot opportunities. And also just that, that New Jersey game that we spoke about a couple times so far being such a low scoring affair definitely plays into that. So in the one game they had Lalu there for, they won 3-1.
Lalu had 3
It's
points.
yeah, Lalu had 3 points, so it's it's really tough to tell, right? Because that's in itself a really small sample size as well. So what's the norm that we can expect out of this team? I'm not sure. They again look like another pretty reasonably well balanced team across the board. They've got defensemen that can contribute to the offense as well as playing well in their own end. Plus having PK by default is like any team with PK on it is almost a shoe in to get to the playoffs just by having him on the team. So I personally expect to see this team contending for a playoff spot, and I think the 1 and 2 hole will be resolved pretty quickly as long as
But
Jalalu's around more often. So I would assume that's only a one-off thing. I can't imagine
Yeah.
that that's going to happen too frequently.
this team's very similar to Colorado, where they're two really strong offensive players.
Yeah, those
That
dudes love being in the ozone.
yeah, I
Lalu
just
and Kiwi.
can't see this team not scoring a lot of goals.
Yeah.
Lalu's really he's really good.
Yeah, I think he's a bit underappreciated by a lot of people in the community. So,
Yeah, he's gonna score a lot, and he's a really well-rounded player. I mean, you
yep,
played with him a bit there.
yep.
You know.
Yeah, Lalu's a lot of fun to play with too. Just beyond him playing well on the ice, he's a lot of fun to play with
Yeah, he's a good guy.
as a person. So
He's got a sweet nightclub in GTA.
I've heard a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he uninstalled it though, so well, he can go to hell.
Yeah.
He won't be getting any award votes from me this season.
That's what he gets. I mean, this season is all because of Jay Lalu. So
yeah, he brought it back, guys.
Yep, it is Jay Lalu's fault that we're here. One thing to point out, we haven't seen the GM uprising yet. I thought for sure Zam would be ousted by now, but he's holding on. He's holding on for dear life.
You know, maybe they're just using his name.
Yeah. Somebody else instead that's playing as Zam. They have him locked in a closet somewhere. I'd believe it.
I believe it. Yeah, I'd believe that.
It's KK Swag playing as Zam instead.
It's Wateki.
Wateki. Oh man.
Or Booty Bandit.
I was about to say, what about Booty Bandit?
It could be Booty Bandit.
We need to get him back.
Do you miss them, Tidge? Do you miss the crew?
Yeah, I haven't heard of him in ages. It's disbanded. It's gone.
X crew, yeah. Back in the DayZ days.
Oh, the DayZ days.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder if that team's gonna contend. I bet they like the team a lot and wouldn't shake things up. And probably gonna be a playoff team. I think that'd be safe.
I have a hard time seeing them make any sort of trades or anything.
No, me neither.
I'm not sure what it is they'd be willing to part with. I mean, Zam has shown he will trade people that he likes as well, but it's not to the same extent that Crab will. He's not quite as ruthless as Crab. And with the team composition they have there, I'm sure they love the group that they have, so I don't really see much changing.
Yeah. But I wonder if they can compete with that roster at the same time. Maybe. I don't know. If Lalu's really good and PK holds up, you could be looking at like a better Florida, like season 18. You know, not a dominant team, but making the finals, going the distance, all that.
Quacky's saying you could see Zam and Johnny Hockey getting traded, which, yep, when Zam gets overthrown as GM, they might trade him. So
I think they like Johnny too much. I don't think they trade him.
Yeah, no, I don't see them trading Johnny personally.
Kiwi, maybe. I don't know. Like he's a weasel. You could always see them.
Kiwi, I could see, but I could also see like
at the same time, I can't imagine. Like I don't envision a trade that works
trading the
for them.
forwards is going to be challenging in this season. I think with the people that have filled each position, it's hard to uproot any of the forwards at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like most of those spots seem to be really set in stone. So in order for one of those players to get traded, I think it would kind of have to be like what you said earlier, where it's going to be like a positional trade, you know, like a winger for a winger, a defenseman for a defenseman type thing, where you're just trying to either shake it up or find somebody that matches a little bit better with the style of defense or offense, whatever that you're playing. And those trades tend to be a lot fewer and farther between. So we could definitely see this season go with very minimal in terms of minimal number of trades that occur, or meaningful trades that occur anyway, we'll put it that way.
Yeah. You see Quacky's in the chat?
Oh yeah, I've seen him typing in there.
Now that he's got a mic, are we getting him on here?
Oh yeah, he's got to be next.
Oh god, I think he would hate that, but
Dalf, I will not be turning webcams on tonight. Maybe next time. We got to convince Tony to get a webcam though. Otherwise, it's just me, and then I look kind of douchey. But
I need to get a lot of stuff before I get a webcam.
Like a bag to put on your head first, because you definitely would not want to show your face.
Damn, well, not if Doug could still be lurking around with Photoshop waiting, and I'm not willing to risk that.
You've seen what he's done to my face.
Yeah, exactly.
Just print off like one of them the players from Hockey Question Mark. Just put it in your face.
That'd be good.
Quacky's right. We need an Eric face cam. Even if he's not in the face-off, he needs to just have his own webcam somewhere, just in the lower corner or something. Just so we can see Eric.
That cut just like at random points, just cut to Eric sitting there quietly, probably in the dark,
just doing nothing.
Yeah,
oh my god!
You can't even hear it either. Yeah. He's just like, what do you think of this, Eric? And he's just, you know,
he's just watching his Harry Potter.
Oh my god! Poor Ricky Vim, dude.
He's looking at his Spider-Man costume.
Drag's saying he has Eric's webcam right now. You're gonna need to get that back to him. We don't need the webcam. We need the webcam set up in front of him so we can get the Eric feed. That'd be great. All right, shall we shift over to Toronto and finish out the sixth team for now?
Yeah.
It's gonna be quick.
That's perfect, Drag. Yep, yep. Set it up and let's get the feed going. We'll have him on the next one. All right, so Toronto has had the roughest start of all the teams up to this point in time. So they're sitting at a 0-0-1-2 record, that one being an overtime loss against Colorado. So they've got 1 point on the season. They're not completely shut off the point board, but they have yet to find a win. Obviously, being 3 games in, tough to pull a lot from that, but they definitely have looked. And I mean this in the nicest way possible, they definitely have looked like the team that's struggling the most up to this point in time to sort of
Well, maybe
find the game
there's
that
one
they
team.
need to play.
There's one
Um,
other team.
you guys had a bad game, yeah.
We had kind of like 2 or whatever, and a
Eh,
bunch of scrims.
you had a bad game. I think that's the only one to really like take a lot out of. So
Hey, you had one good game.
Yeah, but Toronto had.
I'm looking at it now, Drag. I see that Drag's actually in a video chat with Eric right now, looking at his webcam.
Is it as sad as I thought it would have been? I hope not.
Eric doesn't look happy, I'll tell you that. He
Well, I
definitely
would have
does
guessed
not look
that.
happy.
I would have assumed Eric didn't look happy, just
He's
knowing
sitting
Eric.
there looking rather dejected at the moment, but
What is it? A day that ends in
I
Y?
was gonna say I can't think of many days where I've talked to Eric and he's been in a good mood. So just it's a little unfortunate.
Oh God.
Eric, we love you if you're ever listening to this.
Yeah, we all love you. Me, Tidge, Dial, Vern.
Yep.
Especially then.
Oh God. When are we gonna shift this to a D&D podcast and we just talk about our campaign instead?
One day. That's all right, Drag. He might not be here, but we have his number 1 and number 2 fans in chat, and that's what matters. So he's
Oh,
talking
no.
about WoW right now. Unsurprising.
Yeah.
Unsurprising. Well, you can tell him we said hi. So,
He's looking
oh,
dejected
here he
talking about
is.
WoW.
Here he is, opening up the stream. Hello,
Ricky.
Ricky Bim.
Oh God.
All right, let's get back to Toronto before we get sidetracked too much. So yeah, definitely have had trouble sort of figuring out the way that they need to play with each other so far. It's a lot of players that have played together before, so I do kind of find that a little bit surprising. I know a lot of people had them as like fifth or sixth or whatever in the power rankings stuff that was going on before the season that Kiwi started. I know a lot of people were kind of sleeping on them, and I certainly see where they're coming from with that. But I did expect that the team would have clicked a little bit better up to this point than they have. Leafs and KP have played together a lot before. Owl's somebody who's been in the mix with them before. Jabba hasn't played yet, but has been around those players as well, and understands how to play with them. So maybe the addition of getting him back makes a difference. Tough to tell. Bert's been putting up a solid performance though, despite the team in front of him not necessarily playing super well up to this point in time. So that does bode well for them, especially given the last couple seasons, Bert statistically wasn't quite as good as what I think some of us
Well,
would
I
have
mean,
expected him to
he,
be.
he also led the league in save percentage the last season we played.
Right, but still at an under 60%
Yeah.
save rate.
But I
So
mean, it's all relative.
true. That is a fair point. So, and he is rocking over 60% now, which is all that matters. Um, but yeah, so I mean, when I look at it and what their team's doing, Jeet is leading their team in points, which
Yeah.
I have to tip my cap to Jeet.
Yep.
I've never
Driving
been
the
one
net well.
to give him much credit for things, but I have to give him the credit he deserves here. I mean, he is leading an LHL team in points. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, so proud of you, Jeet.
That is
I do
also
think I do think the biggest deficit so far has been KP. I think they need more out of KP in order
Yeah.
for this team to really be contending in each of their games. He's sitting at 7 shots right now, which is for 3 games in, not really great for somebody who should be your top forward. Only getting about two or slightly more than that shots per game is not really enough. They need to be able to generate more than that across the board, but also specifically out of somebody who really should be their best player. Um, I think he's going to pick it up. I think we'll see more out of him than what we've seen up to this point in time. But I definitely think that that's been the biggest point of concern for them, is sort of a lack of ability to generate a lot of meaningful scoring chances. They've been getting some shots on net, but a lot of the shots they're getting aren't always the best either. There's a handful of tricklers and kind of longer shots that tend to be a little bit easier to save and things. So they need to really utilize the fact that they have a high talent player in KP who can, make scoring chances for himself, deke around a few people. They need to get him in situations to utilize that skill more and try to open up into games a little bit earlier because it feels like it's taking them a little too long to start scoring in some of these games.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be relying on Burt quite a bit this season.
Yeah, which is the reason why you draft him early, right? You don't draft a goalie earlier if you're not planning on relying on them to play to the level you expect. So
Yeah, but like you said, I think KP at some point will just suddenly turn into a beast.
yeah, I don't see something like big changing overnight, but I think it's going to be sort of a gradual progression towards him playing better, and it's just going to be a matter of how soon it is that they can make that happen. If they can get that going in the next, week or two, then they'll have time to be able to actually turn this around and, make something better out of this. But if it continues to trend in this direction and they don't see more production out of him specifically, they're going to keep falling down in this hole, and it's very quickly going to be too big for them to climb out of.
100%.
So
Definitely.
if there's any team that's in a win now mode, it's absolutely Toronto for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
They
but
they battered us in the scrim the other day as well. So
I
they
mean, they took us 5-4 to OT, so they have it in them. It's just a matter of bringing that out a little bit more consistently, because in their other 2 games that they played, they scored a combined 2 goals. So
yeah, it just seems they're like an inconsistent team. But they need to sort of get out of that.
look, Delph, there's a difference between the mode they're in right now and what they want to be in right now, or what they need to be in. So, as Delph saying, they're in a lose now mode.
yeah, I don't know, I see that team turning it around from being like, I think some people think they're like punching bag bad. I don't
No,
really
I
see
don't
it.
think they are. No.
Like, I think they're gonna improve. Bert and Kill are too good individually to really let that happen right now. At least
Agreed.
I think they'll keep things competitive.
Completely agreed.
It's a tight season. It's gonna be
All
a
right.
tight season.
Speaking of tight seasons, let's get into some tight predictions. You guys ready for this?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
All right. Let me get up the predictions sheet so we can get through this. Where the hell did I put these? Here we go. All right. So the way this is going to work for our predictions for this season is we're going to every week predict the upcoming games for the next week. We'll outline what the current series is between the 2 teams in each one of the games, try to highlight some of the bigger moments from their season series up to this point in time, and then each of the 3 of us will provide a prediction which is locked in, not allowed to change it. Um, and we will evaluate that at the end of the week, see who has the best record, and we're going to keep track of this record on this screen that you guys can see here. So it should hopefully be pretty fun. I do need to, looks like, move this up a little bit. So let me get this going. While I edit this and get this working, one caveat to this is that when we go through and do each of these evaluations, we are not going to be voting on games that or predicting games that we participate in. That's what we used to do. I think it winds up keeping things a little bit more fair because obviously nobody wants to predict themselves to lose. So it winds up being a bit of a stupid situation. Um, so easier to just avoid that. So anytime you see an NA on here, it means we will not be providing a vote for that game because we play in that game. So thankfully, every single game has at least one person who can predict. And we're going to start with New Jersey and Colorado as the first game on Tuesday, which we touched on earlier, the top two teams currently. And Tony, as you're the only one here who's not playing in the game, um, you're on the board here to give us a first prediction of the season.
Do I have to give a score to this?
You don't have to give a score. If you want to, you can, but we're not going to keep track of that. It'll just be whether or not you guess the winner correctly.
All right. I'm going Colorado then.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, Tony, what?
They're gonna have Marchie and Guy there. I think that team. I know Austin. He's got it circled on the calendar.
Oh well. Now I just want to win even more.
Hey, I kind of want you guys to win too. That's a bastard team over there in Colorado.
What makes us a bastard team?
Oh, you got Guy and Marchie.
The bastards.
Look, Guy is not a bastard.
Traded up, got Quacky. I think a lot of GMs this season foolishly slept on Marchie, especially because I was telling people Marchie's gonna make games and no one would listen to me, except you guys, I guess. And Guy, I thought somebody was gonna gamble. I mean, 12 games is a lot. Missing them in the playoffs sucks, but I thought somebody could get away with it and start, smashing early in the season.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the next game then. So Tidge, it's you and I this time. So Tony, you get this game off. Congratulations. Seattle versus Toronto. So the two teams have not played each other yet, which is going to be the case for all the games on this Tuesday. So there's no history to go from here outside of maybe you could argue the preseason being a potential sort of spot for that. So let me make that a little bit bigger so we can get there we go. Get that from wrapping. Okay. So Seattle and Toronto. Tidge, I'm putting you up first. Who do you think is going to win this game?
Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm in agreement with that as well. I think Seattle's been looking better. I think the longer the games have gone on, they've improved, whereas I think Toronto's still fairly inconsistent. I personally think Seattle's closer to the level that they're going to be capable of playing to than Toronto is right now, if that kind of makes sense. And so as a result, I think they're, at least at this point in the season, more likely to be the one to take this one home. So, all right.
Yeah.
Now one that all three of us get to vote on together. So, Tony, I'm going back to you for the first one. We got LA and Boston, two teams tied at 1 and 2.
That'd be a good game, I think. Think Lalo will be back, but I think I'll go Boston for this one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good game, but I don't know. I think Boston.
You think Boston has the edge?
Yeah, right now I would say so.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, Tidge, how about you?
It's probably the hardest one, but I think it's going to be Boston as well. It's going to be really close.
Yeah, I think this and the New Jersey Colorado game have potential to be really exciting games because at least in terms of ability, both pairs of teams look to be really sort of on par with each other at this point in time. It's really a coin flip game for me, and just to make sure I'm different from you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and pick LA here. This is a strategic pick for the purposes of my prediction record, so this way I can maintain a potential advantage here on you guys if you guys get it wrong. So I'm taking the
Okay.
risk. But in all reality, this is a game that could easily go to OT. I can see this being a really low scoring game too. Both teams play well defensively. Both teams have really solid goaltending. Sully versus PK is sort of like the mentor versus the mentee. PK is the one who brought Sully up and taught him how to be a good goalie. So it'd be really fun to watch the two of them go against each other. And I I do have to say that the team that loses this game is going to be in a bit of a tight spot, though. If the team that loses this game also loses the second game, falling down to 1-4 is not a good situation to be in. So I think, in all honesty, it's winning this game is really important, I think, to set the tone for at least this week for whichever team winds up getting this. And I think LA will bounce back well having Jalalu back. So, which my vote is stringent on or contingent on, sorry, it's a better word for it, on Jalalu being back. So
There's another timestamp.
this whole prediction section is just one big timestamp. So um, for the next one, getting into the second half of the games here, we got New Jersey and Toronto. I'm just New Jersey. I'm just going to go out with it. I don't think Toronto is quite ready yet.
I
They
I
might
know
surprise me.
Toronto
Go
just
ahead.
smashed him in a scrim, and that was kind of odd. But I don't see that happen in the league game. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it's still. I think it's going to take Toronto a little bit longer than one game day turnaround to be able to sort of like
But
figure out
at
what
the
they
same,
need to do.
I don't see this. I don't see them starting 0-5. I could see them beating us, and I could see them maybe squeaking this game through. They went to OT against you guys. I could see them doing something here. It's more likely they beat us though than New Jersey. So my pick would be New Jersey
Put
on
it
this
this
game.
way, even though this is the first place team versus the last place team, I still don't think there's as big of a difference between those two teams as what normally that would mean.
Mm-hmm.
If you know where I'm going with that, like typically first
Toronto.
versus last seed is like you expect the first seed to just blow them out like 5-2 or something, right?
Yeah.
I can certainly see that not being the case, but then again, it kind of just depends on how turned on Otto is that day. So tough to tell. But Tony, official prediction?
Yeah, New Jersey. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like I said, I don't see Toronto going 0-5.
Until New Jersey gives me a reason to not pick against them, I'm going to keep erring on the side of giving them the W. They've been one of the most proficient and consistent teams up to this point in time, so I'm going to keep riding the wave as long as I can there. So, all right, Tidge, LA and Seattle.
If Ricky V has a big game, it wouldn't surprise me if Seattle takes it, but probably gonna go LA for this one.
Okay.
I can't see him losing 2 games in 1 week or in one day.
Is this LA are you looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
can't see him falling twice.
I personally find this matchup really interesting because these two teams is basically the entire season 13 Nashville roster split up into two, which I think is really funny. So watching them play against each other will be an entertaining time, considering that literally all of the starters plus one or two of the backups are on these two teams. So definitely going to be enjoyable to watch. I'm looking forward to that. And this should be much like the Boston LA game. I think this will be really good. This should be a really close, really tight game, and certainly going to be a good test for Eric in net. This is definitely going to be like a defining game, I think, for how his season is going to go. This is an opportunity where Seattle's going to need him to step up to actually, excuse me, demonstrate that he can be the goalie that they need him to be, and that the team can rally around that. And I think Eric is going to do that, and I think they're going to win that game.
Let's fucking go, Eric.
So I'm putting my cards in the Eric hand this time. So you're
Yeah.
welcome, Eric.
Yeah. Eric's in chat. My prediction then is Eric lets in 12 goals on 12 shots Tuesday.
Yikes.
2 more 6-0 losses. I know I'm not allowed to predict my own games, but that can go on the side. That's in my Eric tracker.
All right, final game for Tuesday is Colorado and Boston. So, Tony, we'll start with you.
Colorado wins again. I don't envision Colorado actually losing a game until Guy gets his shoulder surgery. That is the best team ever put together, and we're praying that Guy needs to go in early for the surgery to end it.
I think that's a bit of an overstatement, but
No,
we'll see. All right, Tidge.
I feel like Boston is going to be the team that does well against Colorado this season. I think Taze and Delphin are two guys that I think know how to deal with Dial and Quacky. So I'm going to go for a risky one and go Boston.
Picking the upset. I like it. It's fun to get risky. It's not as fun to just pick the favorite every single time, you know? What's the point in winning the predictions record for the season if you just pick the favorite every time? Where's the
winning
enjoyment?
is cool.
Where's the enjoyment in that? So I respect it, Tidge. I like it. All right. So let's go to the Friday games, and now we actually get to some games, where these teams have played against each other. The second half of the games from the day are actually going to be rematch games from what we see on Tuesday. So we might see some duplicate predictions here. This will be a little bit weird. Should only be the last time we have to deal with this, though. So first game, we've got New Jersey and Boston. So last time they played against each other, Tidge, as you know, New Jersey coming out on top of that one in a 5-4 regulation win. So Tidge, we won't ask you to vote on this one, but Tony, who do you think is going to win this game?
Gosh, who knows? I guess do I have to factor in all of the hypothetical trades that could happen after the Tuesday games? Like if Boston like has a bad stretch and they blow it all up and they have this whole new roster, am I supposed to imagine how Kiwi and Leafs and Sully and do here against?
Look, if you think they're going to make a trade, by all means, you can predict based on what you think their new team is going to look like. You can certainly do that.
No, it's fine. I don't know. Boston kept that first game kind of close. I hate to just pick New Jersey every time. I think that team is gonna get better as each game day, essentially. I'm definitely worried about that team. So hard to go against them right now. I think New Jersey, but I think
Yeah.
I don't know. That should be another good game.
I agree. I know I just got done talking about not picking the favorite every time, but I do think this is probably not the upset game. Boston, similar to what Tidge is saying against our team, Boston is a team that's well equipped to play against a high caliber offense. It's just exactly what you have in New Jersey. So I think they'll put up a better showing sort of defensively and from the goaltending to not allow 5 goals. But I think that New Jersey is going to keep getting better the longer they play together too. And I can't see Narg, Austin, and Tidge allowing 4 goals again either. So I think this will be a much lower scoring game, like a 3-2 or something like that. But I do think New Jersey's probably going to squeak out the win in that one. Tidge, we're going to you for the next one. It is the Colorado and Seattle rematch.
You got to remember, this is after Tuesday, where Eric is now entering Friday with a 90 save percentage, and there is questions for who the starting goalie is on Fridays now between Booth and Eric.
Well, I don't think this game is going to be a mercy this time around. Is that a bold prediction? I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a Colorado win, though, again, purely based off how many shots were on goal last time.
Yeah, Goose will be in net this time. So
Goose will be in net, but that means it's going to be more shots.
That won't prevent the 14-1 shot differential.
Yeah, I just think that 14-1's a big factor in how Seattle are probably going to lose this game again.
Okay. All right. Let's get into the next one. The last one that all three of us can vote on. Always fun when this happens. So we've got LA taking on Toronto.
Now you pick this one first, Dial, so you don't cheat us by getting to go last.
What do you mean getting to go last?
Like you did the
I
last time.
picked against you guys.
Exactly. You voted last.
Yeah.
And that's why you
What are
voted
you?
the
Are
way
you
you
trying
did.
to vote against me now? You're trying to pick
No,
whatever I'm not picking?
I just don't like you picking whatever we don't pick.
Using my strategy against me? All right. Well, I personally think LA is going to take this one. Toronto has the ability to put up points, but at the same time, PK is not the goalie to be making an offensive comeback on. I just don't see that happening in that game, unless PK has an off night anyway. And again, just the way he's playing right now, hard to expect that that's going to happen. So I do think LA is going to be able to take this one. We'll go to you, Tidge.
I am very confident of an LA win in this one.
Very confident, huh?
Yeah, not because I think like Toronto's trash. I just think maybe Toronto may beat Seattle on the Tuesday, and it probably stand a good chance against us if we don't play that well. But I think LA against Toronto. I think it's just a team that LA I think will be quite comfortable against. Similar to where I said like Boston will be good against Colorado. I just think I don't know. It just suits
I think
LA.
LA matches up well with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think, not to go the Dial route, but for my own beliefs, that I think Toronto will win this one. I think Toronto's
That's why I wanted to
offense.
vote last.
Yeah, well, I would have voted Toronto first, but I was worried that you'd just go LA again just to spite me. I think I think the LA's defense, PK excluded, might have a little trouble with what I imagine is going to be a full Toronto team by Friday, maybe with Jabba in and practiced. Because I bet Jabba's probably going to play Tuesday, and that'll be his little warm up. He'll be ready to go Friday, and I think that the kind of 4 dangler strat that Kill kind of envisioned might surprise some teams. You know, to
Yep.
when Jabba's out there. And Bert's probably, save percentage doesn't quite look like it, but he would be maybe my pick right now for best goalie besides PK. If
I
I had
kind
to
of
just
think
bet on one.
I kind of think Bert's the X factor in that game, to be honest with you. I think if Bert has a really good game and shows up to play and can hold LA to like 2 goals or so, then I think Toronto can come away with the win. But if Bert isn't able to put up a top level performance like that, then I think LA is gonna take it. So, but
I'm gambling on
he's
Bert.
definitely the X factor there. All right, Tony,
Yeah.
since you went last the last time, you're going first this time. We're getting a rematch, Boston and Colorado.
I kind of want to pick Boston this time. I imagine that it kind of goes back and forth, but I'm not confident on the day it happens. But I bet whoever wins the first one doesn't win the next one. I bet Marchie misses this Friday or something. I'm putting me butt down for Boston on this one. Colorado's first loss of the season. Marchie's not there. Book it.
Timestamp, Quacky? Timestamp?
Cap shoots himself after the game for blaming himself.
And then immediately hops on NHL 21 and wants
Yeah,
to shoot himself again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Quappy. Quappy.
Happy?
Quappy. Thank you, Quacky, for the timestamp. All right, Tidge, how about you?
Pretty much same reason as Tony, but I'm going Colorado. I just think.
So you guys both have the same thought process. You're just flipping the days in which you think they're going to win.
Yeah, we're probably going to be like, yeah, it's probably going to be reversed.
Yeah, I know. We're both going to be wrong.
All right, Tidge, Seattle LA rematch. Last time you picked LA, last time I picked Seattle. Goose is in net this time.
Goose, yeah, that's huge.
But with a
And
19% lower
yeah,
save percentage
yeah.
than Eric by this point in time
Yep,
after his
yep,
monstrous.
yep.
I did
After his
say
monstrous Tuesday performance. Yep.
I did say as well the game was gonna be. Yeah, I think it might be Seattle for this one.
Yeah, I was gonna pick Seattle again myself. I think Goose being there definitely gives them a big leg up. Uh, I think Goose knows these players really well. He's been around them for a long time. Goose is absolutely somebody who studies player tendencies, as we learned, and keeps track of those things. So, and I would say Jalalu maybe a little bit less so, but I think Kiwi is probably fairly predictable, as most forwards are, in terms of what are the types of shots he's going to be going for and whatnot. So, and Goose has had plenty of experience playing against them. Lalu's a little bit more of an unknown just because he hasn't played as much LHL while Goose is a goalie, so things could be a little bit different there. But I think on the whole, I expect Goose to show up and have a pretty good night, and I think Seattle will continue to build on the week that I predicted them to have already, and sort of start to climb back out of that rocky start that they began with. So, all right, and that brings us to New Jersey and Toronto. And it's this time around, I am going to pick Toronto for the upset today. I think they're probably going to get an upset at some point during this week. I do not see them going 0-4 this week. Certainly not after the 0-3 start. I think they're going to be putting out their best effort to really start to push back and claw back into that. And I know I've predicted against them every single time, but I think this is the game where they're going to break through. I could certainly see them being able to put up kind of like what Tony said, a performance that sort of surprises New Jersey, and the fact that they have so many people that can make individual plays and get around people, deke around people and whatnot, create some space for themselves, I think can be really dangerous if they're flowing well. And I think this is enough time for them to have really started to work together and figure out the best way for them to play off of one another and play around one another. And I think this will be the first time that we see them claw it
Yeah,
out. And I will say I think it's going to be OT. I think it's going to be a really close one. I don't think it'll be a stomp or anything like that, but I think they're going to squeak their first win here.
I can honestly see Toronto going 4-0 this week. Like not even that I mean,
Yeah,
the games against New Jersey are going to be tough for them, but I think they can do it. Like I think it's very reasonable to see this team be 4-3 by by this time in a week. Uh, yeah, put me down for Toronto in this one. I'm not confident about maybe Friday over Tuesday, but I can see Toronto taking one of the games against New Jersey. I don't want to bet New Jersey for both.
Okay. So with that, we are locking in our predictions for the week. You check back in next week or next weekend. We'll probably do this again on Saturday, I'd assume. And we'll have the updated prediction records to see how we've been doing. So I don't have the data for the old prediction records in previous seasons, but I do know that I used to beat Dick Dug at it. So that's a high bar to set, I know, but it is true. I used to beat Dick Dug at it, so we'll see if I can keep that up with Tony and the guests this time around. But Tidge is probably going to smash ass. He's probably going to beat both Tony and I. He's a bit of a genius.
yeah. All I do is gamble.
Yeah, Tidge is gonna be perfect.
Real quick at the end here, should we spend 5-10 minutes talking about some of the other topics we brought up?
It's kind of late. I'm
Let's do it. We could be
tired.
pretty quick with it.
Tidge
Let's do
is
it.
tired.
So the first thing I wanted to touch on, and none of the games have happened yet, so we can't really talk too much about it, but just to at least, give them some spotlight here. The Sunday Night Hockey League that is starting tomorrow night, actually, 24 hours from now, we'll have had the first series of games. It is a three-team league this time around, which features DeBezy GMing San Diego, Payne GMing Manitoba, and Gouch GMing Scranton. I don't know how much either of you have seen of the rosters for those or the draft. Tidge, have you followed along with any of this so far?
No, I have not seen any of the teams.
All I know is Doc slipped real far and went the same round he did in the LHL draft.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just curious to see if you guys had any predictions as far as teams that you thought looked to be the best. Um, Certainly some interesting lineups there. You've got DeBezy, Para, Lucic, Germs, Lewis, and Gregors as sort of like the top starters on San Diego.
Gregor's
Then
got traded for Ace.
Okay, sorry. So Ace instead of Gregors. Then you've got Payne, Jeet, Slugger, Cavi, Ghost, Gregors, and Doc as another team. And then you've got the third one, Gouch, Doucette, Jerry, Stamkos, Super Hot Glue, Tim, and Nova for the next
Gouch
one.
got
So
Super and Tim. That's funny.
yeah.
He knows. He
So
knows.
it's certainly setting up to be pretty tightly contested. I mean, that there's a good amount of talent, relatively speaking, on all three of those teams at the starting level there. So it's definitely going to be hard to pick between them. I Gouch is a bit of an unknown. Him being a GM, he's always been somebody who's torn up the RSL in the past, and that being the closest equivalent to what we're working with here. I could definitely see Gouch being able to carry his team to a lot of success, especially working with guys like Jerry, Doucette, and Stamkos. Those are three, prominent names, three really good backup players at an LHL level. But I do think I'd give the edge right now to Payne and Jeet's team with Doc on it as well. I think, and Ghost. I think they have the most well-rounded starting core. That'll be the most consistent anyway. They have Cavi in net, who looks like he'll probably be the best goalie in this league. At least that's my early prediction anyway. But there's definitely, you look at even DeBezy's team, which has Lucic on it in the second round. What could Lucic do? I think the last time he played in the RSL, he was tearing it up down there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like over 5 points a game. It was
Yeah.
insane.
So Lucic could easily single-handedly make Tbilissi's team the best in the league. So, and they have Lewis as well, who I think will be a top-performing goalie for sure. And
Dyal has three
then
goalies and top performers, and there's three teams. Obviously, it'd be a top performing
you
goalie.
you know what I'm saying. He's definitely in contention for being the best goalie at
Yeah.
that level, and Pera is no slouch either in that league. So tough to pick, but I my early prediction, I'm gonna lock it in with Manitoba. I think they're the best favorite for the cup.
Yeah, it's probably the most well-rounded team, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd pick them. I
So
trust the defense on that team more than the
I
others.
think Gila performing well in the LHL. He could be
Oh yeah, he'll
the
do
star
extremely
performer.
well against lower level competition.
for sure, and I think
That's
him
where
him
he's always
getting the
excelled.
starting time at an LHL level is only going to help him play better. So
Mhm.
But
But anyway, so they have games coming up tomorrow. It's Manitoba versus Scranton, Manitoba versus San Diego, and then San Diego versus Scranton in that order. I believe
Cool.
the games start at 7:30. Yeah, 7:30.
Yeah.
So you can catch those tomorrow. I'm not sure what server they're going to be on or if they're going to be streamed. I don't see either of those in the schedule at this point in time, but probably going to be on DTMB or potentially Capital One. So you'll see them on one of the two. So definitely check them out, follow along. The more we support each other in each of these leagues, the better off we're all going to be. We need to build each other up to sort of get back to the community point that we used to be at, and the sort of goals that we're all trying to reach to sort of reinvigorate ourselves and get back to something a little bit better, a little bit more whole. So yeah, definitely want to do our best to support each other, build each other up there, and yeah, real
Yeah.
quick, since I've had people ask about it, recruitment plans. Tony, do you want to touch on this at all?
Yeah. It's not something we've actually scheduled and planned, but it is something I think we're all fairly confident that we'll be bringing back at some point. We just have to find sort of a time that works best for us,
I
and
think,
once we have something to bring them to,
yep.
there's
So,
not really anything to recruit them to right now.
yeah. So I think we are in a decent spot in terms of if we're looking at Reddit recruitment again. given that it's been so many years since the last time we tried it, we actually probably have a reasonable opportunity to finally try posting on our hockey again, which was the best place that we ever found to be able to actually recruit people that would stick around for any length of time. We're in the off season right now. We're in a unique circumstance, obviously, with the NHL, where it's going to be in the off season until January, and conveniently, this season ends right before Christmas. So there's a lot of time there in December is probably the time frame that we're going to be looking at recruiting people, or finding a way to recruit people. And I would definitely not rule out Reddit as an opportunity for that. We do still have some of the community money. It's like $360 or something, that we're certainly willing to put towards some form of expansion, some form of advertisement, recruitment, whatever. So that's definitely something that we're going to have sort of in the back pocket, so to speak. So we're going to be looking for opportunities to do that. But for now, at least, you should expect some form of Reddit recruitment, and probably December is the time frame that we're looking for that. And we'll probably wind up trying to do another prospect tournament and try to get more of the veterans back and whatnot, so we can build the RSL back up to at least 4 teams again, and then talk about doing something like the Sunday Night Hockey thing for new guys. So anyway, so that touches on that. I don't want to make it too brief, but at the same time, there's not a ton to really share yet. More of just confirmations that we are going to be working towards that, but it's a longer term thing, not a short term thing. So with that, any closing thoughts from either of you guys for the night?
No, I'm tired.
Glad to have the game back, really.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's good to see Dial and Quacky destroying the league like I predicted, and me and Austin tried warning people about, and they were fools and didn't listen. I feel like, the guys in the movies when like doomsday's happening and the scientist knows and he's trying to warn people, and the government's like, nah, no, you're crazy, and we won't listen to you. And then it happens and the world ends, and you're like, hey, I'm right, but it kind of sucks. That's how I feel and how Austin I know feels right now. Way to go, guys.
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying being sleep deprived. It's a unique experience.
Sleep deprived for all the right reasons, eh, Tidge?
Yeah, oh, exactly.
D&D and LHL.
Yep. All right.
I love it.
So with that, we will sign out for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in live. We'll be putting this up on YouTube tomorrow as well. And we will see you guys all in a week.
Bye.